Welcome to Child Care Resources Child and Adult Care Food Program Annual Training. In this training, we will review 4 major topics: meal components and requirements, record keeping, claim completion procedures, and civil rights compliance and enforcement. Meal components and requirements. There are 5 meal components in the Child and Adult Care Food Program: fruits, vegetables, grains, meat alternates, and milk. Let's take a look at the fruit and vegetable meal component. The combined fruit and vegetable component is now a separate vegetable component and a separate fruit component. This means that fruits and vegetables are separate components at lunch, supper, and snack. A vegetable is required at lunch and supper. This means a vegetable and a fruit, or 2 different vegetables, must be served. 2 fruits cannot be served. A fruit and a vegetable can be served as a snack. However, items from 2 different components must be served. Therefore, 2 fruits or 2 vegetables cannot be served as a snack. Fruits and vegetables may be served fresh, frozen, canned, dried, or as 100% pasteurized fruit and/or vegetable juice. Pasteurized full-strength 100% fruit juice or vegetable juice may be served at 1 meal, including snack meals, per day. There's been a lot of talk about whole grains. Let's find out what all the talk is about. At least 1 serving of grains per day must be whole grain rich. All creditable grains must either be whole grains or enriched grains, such as wheat, rice, and corn. Grain-based desserts do not count toward the grain requirement. Some common examples include the following items: cakes, cookies, sweet pie crust, donuts, granola bars, sweet rolls, and brownies. So what is whole grain rich? Whole grain rich foods are those that contain 100% whole grain, or at least 50% whole grains, and the remaining grains in the food are enriched. Enriched grains are refined grains, such as wheat, rice, and corn, and grain products such as cereal, pasta, and bread, that have vitamins and minerals added to replace some of the nutrients lost during processing. There are 2 methods for determining if a product meets whole grain requirements. A product is at least 50% whole grain if a whole grain is the first ingredient, or the product packaging contains the Food, Drug Administration's whole grain health claim. The first claim states low-fat claim. Diets rich in whole grain foods and other plant foods and low in total fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol may help reduce the risk of heart disease and certain cancers. The second claim is a moderate fat claim. Diets rich in whole grain foods and other plant foods and low in saturated fats and cholesterol may help reduce the risk of heart disease. So how does the new grain requirements affect our breakfast cereal? Breakfast cereals include ready-to-eat instant and regular hot cereals. Breakfast cereals must contain no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. There are 2 methods to determine whether or not your breakfast cereal will meet the sugar guidelines. Method 1 is simple. Simply use the WIC-approved breakfast cereal list. Child Care Resources can provide you with this list. For method 2, you must calculate the total sugars per ounce. Step 1, find the nutrition label on the package. Step 2, find the serving size of the cereal. Step 3, find the total amount for sugars. It is below the total carbohydrate line. Step 4, divide the sugars numbers by the serving size number. Step 5, if the number is 0.212 or less, the cereal is below the sugar limit. This cereal is creditable. The cereal is creditable because 0.033 is less than the threshold of 0.212. The Child and Adult Care Food Program is now giving centers more protein options. Meat and meat alternates may be served in place of the entire grain component at breakfast a maximum of 3 times per week, and tofu counts as a meat alternate. Other meat alternates include cheese, eggs, nut butter, and yogurt. Nuts and seeds may only meet half of the total meat and meat alternate serving and must be combined with another meat alternate to fulfill the lunch or supper requirement. Processed meat, such as chicken nuggets, luncheon meat, and fish sticks, must contain a child nutrition label on the packaging that indicates the amount of meat per serving. Yogurt is another meat alternate. 4 fluid ounces, a half a cup of yogurt equals to 1 ounce equivalent of meat alternate. Yogurt may be plain or flavored, unsweetened or sweetened. Yogurt must contain no more than 23 grams of total sugar per 6 ounces. Non-commercial or non-standardized yogurt products are not creditable food items. Some common examples include frozen yogurt, drinkable yogurt products, homemade yogurt, yogurt bars, and yogurt-covered fruits or nuts. Milk is one of the most talked about meal components. Let's see how we can make every sip count. Unflavored whole milk must be served to 1-year-olds. Unflavored, low-fat, or fat-free milk must be served to children 2 through 5 years old. Unflavored, low-fat, unflavored, fat-free, or flavored, fat-free milk must be served to children 6 years old and older. Milk substitutions are allowed for non-disability medical or special dietary need. Medical statement is not required if the milk substitution is nutritionally equivalent to cow's milk. The request must be made in writing. A medical statement is required when a disability requires a non-dairy beverage that is not nutritionally equivalent to cow's milk. Now that we've reviewed the 5 meal components, let's see how we can use those meal components to create meals and snacks. Breakfast components consist of fruits and/or vegetables, grains, and milk. Here's a closer look at the breakfast meal patterns. Meat and meat alternates may be used to substitute the entire grain component a maximum of 3 times per week. Let's take a look at the lunch and supper components. Fruits, grains, meat alternate, vegetables, and milk are all required components for lunch and supper. Here's a closer look at the lunch and supper meal patterns. The requirements below are minimum requirements. This means that at least the minimum amount must be served for each required component. Again, milk, meat alternates, vegetables, fruits, and grains are all required components for lunch and supper. Snack components consist of 2 of the 5 meal components. When selecting snack items, make sure there are 2 of the 5 components. If your center serves children under the age of 12 months, pay close attention to the infant meal pattern. You will see that there are only 2 age groups now, 0 to 5 months and 6 to 11 months. Let's take a closer look at some infant meal requirements. Infant formula and dry infant cereal must be iron fortified. Yogurt must contain no more than 23 grams of sugar per 6 ounces. Fruit and vegetable juices must not be served to infants. Nursing mothers may breastfeed in center if center is equipped with lactation station. Now that we're finished with that, let's look at record keeping. In this section, we will review menu requirements, meal count procedures, cost documentation, and monitoring requirements. Let's look at menu requirements using the Child Meal Planning Guide and Infant Meal Planning Guide. Menu requirements state that the menu must be posted in a visible location within your center. The menu must also be dated. Let's take a closer look at our posted menu. We can clearly see that all the required components for breakfast are listed. Be sure when listing your whole grains that you mark them clearly in the box provided. Homemade items must be indicated by writing HM next to them. Cereal type must be specified. Milk type must also be specified. The Child Meal Planning Guide is a useful tool to use to create a menu. Let's create one together. At the top, you would want to put your center name and the date. What makes the Child Meal Planning Guide so unique is that it also includes the meal component and serving size. Let's complete breakfast together. That was easy. For breakfast, we made sure that we included the milk type, marked all whole grains, specified the type of fruit or vegetable we served, and on Thursday and Friday we served a meat or meat alternate instead of a grain. Let's complete lunch and supper. Again, we made sure that we specified the type of milk we served and marked all whole grains. Let's continue with snack. That was easy. The Infant Meal Planning Guide can be completed much like the Child Meal Planning Guide. At the top, you want to provide your center name as well as the date. On the Infant Meal Planning Guide, you want to be sure that you complete all available fields. This does not mean that each item was served. It simply means that all the required items are available when the child is developmentally ready. All children under 12 months of age must have an infant formula choice form on file at your center and at Child Care Resources. This form is completed and signed by the parent and is used to notify parents that they have the option of using center's formula. If your center has children under 12 months enrolled, you must allow them to participate in the Child and Adult Care Food Program. Let's complete the infant formula choice form together. At the top, the center will provide their name and address. The first paragraph states the type of formula that the center provides. Parents have 4 options. The first option is that they will use the center's formula. The second is that they will use their own formula, and they must write the type of formula that they will provide. The next option is that they will use breast milk. And the fourth option is that their infant is 4 months or older and developmentally ready for baby food. The form should include the child's name, date of birth, parent's signature, and date. Now that we know how to complete menus, let's look at how to record those meals that we serve. Let's take a closer look at the weekly attendance and meal count worksheet. Child Care Resources will provide you with a weekly attendance and meal count worksheet to record attendance and meal counts. Attendance must be marked if the child is present during any meal service. Meal counts must be recorded at the point of service. Use only dark pens, no pencils. Make neat dark black X's in the center of the box, making sure to stay within the lines. For a new child, or if a child is eating in a different classroom and is not listed on the worksheet of the classroom the child is eating in, simply neatly write the child's first and last name by hand on the next available row. To make corrections, use only whiteout, no stray marks. Sign and date worksheet before submitting. The type of meal service your center provides will dictate the type of meal service your center performs. There are two types of meal service: unitized and family style. Unitized meal counts must be marked as each child is served their entire meal, including the milk. Meal counts must be completed during meal service, not before or after meal service. Family style meal counts must be marked once all of the creditable items in the correct quantity is set on the table. Children can serve themselves or have assistance from teachers. Now that we know how to complete the weekly attendance and meal count worksheet, let's complete one together. We have a new child enrolled in our program today. Let's go ahead and write their name in on the next available line. Now let's go ahead and mark all of our children that are in attendance. And let's mark breakfast at the point of service. And let's mark lunch and PM snack. At the end of the week, we want to be sure that whoever completed this form signs and dates it. Now let's take a look at what is needed to show cost documentation. Programs must document that 100% of their funds are spent on food service. At least 50% of funds must be spent on food. The other 50% can be spent on food service supplies, staff that assists with the CACFP, that would include your cooks, teachers, and directors, and other food-related costs. One way to document costs is with receipts and invoices. Receipts should have the store name, date, and total. Do not mark through any items on your receipt. Child Care Resources will subtract any items that are not reimbursable. A staff and time duty worksheet should be kept by all staff performing CACFP duties. Each staff member that performs Child and Adult Care Food Program duties should complete a staff time and duty worksheet. Let's complete one together. At the top, you would need to provide your employee name, position, month, and year. Write in the dates for each day Child and Adult Care Food Program duties were performed. Enter the times worked for Child and Adult Care Food Program related duties for each meal period. Cross out days that you did not work. Add up all hours and calculate total at the bottom. Be sure to sign the form and have your supervisor also sign the form. Now that you know all of the rules and regulations of the Child and Adult Care Food Program, it's time to be monitored. Child Care Resources will visit your center at least 3 times a year to verify that nutritious meals are being served and that the records you keep are accurate. When we visit, we will check for the following. We will make sure that all meal components are present for the meal, all of the right quantities are present for each child, that every child is provided a meal, that meal counts are recorded at the point of service, the menu is posted and dated. Both the Building for the Future and Justice for All poster are displayed. Besides Child Care Resources staff, federal or state employees may visit your site to verify meals and records. Now, I mentioned the And Justice for All poster, but we haven't talked much about it. Every center participating in the CACFP must display the And Justice for All poster in a prominent location within their center. This poster is issued by the USDA and has the Civil Rights Statement on it, which outlines the protected classes. The Building for the Future poster must be displayed in a conspicuous area within your center. This poster just clearly states that your center participates in the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The Building for the Future flyer must be distributed to all parents and guardians. This flyer just states that your center again participates in the Child and Adult Care Food Program. A good way to distribute is to add it to your enrollment packet. Claim completion procedures. In this part of the training, we will go over monthly claim packet requirements. Your claim must be submitted by the 10th of every month. The following documents must be mailed to Child Care Resources: original attendance sheets, a copy of your menus, copies of the receipts and invoices, and copies of your staff time and duty worksheets. When submitting your attendance and meal count worksheet, only submit originals. Your attendance and meal count worksheet must be signed and dated. Print the worksheet in landscape format only. Do not staple sheets together. Submit a copy of your menu even if you completed your menu on Minute Menu. Be sure to double check your menu for accuracy and to ensure that all required components are listed as well as all whole grains clearly marked. Submit copies of receipts for any food and/or supplies that pertain to the food program. Be sure to include all milk receipts. All receipts must include printed date, store name, legible items and prices, totals and method of payment, and be sure to keep your originals in your file. When submitting your staff time and duty worksheet, make sure that it's calculated at the bottom and signed and dated by the staff member. After submitting your claim, you will receive a check in the mail in about 3 weeks. Civil rights compliance and enforcement training is an annual required training in the CACFP. We will review the following topics as they pertain to civil rights: definitions, background, civil rights components, and non-discrimination statement. What is the meaning of discrimination, disability, and protected class? Discrimination is the act of distinguishing one person or group of persons from others, either intentionally, by neglect, or by the effect of actions or lack of actions based on their protected class. So what's a disability? A disability is a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more of an individual's major life activities, having a record of such impairment or being regarded as having such an impairment. So, who's a protected class? A protected class is any person or group of people who have characteristics for which discrimination is prohibited based on a law, regulation, or executive order. Protected classes for the child nutrition programs include race, color, national origin, sex, age, and disability. To clearly understand civil rights, we have to take a close look at civil rights laws. Where did our current laws come from? In 1964, Title IV Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination based on race, color, and national origin. In 1972, Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 prohibits discrimination based on sex under any educational program or activity that's receiving federal financial assistance. In 1973, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 prohibits discrimination based on a disability. In 1975, Age Discrimination of 1975 clarifies and elaborates on the original Civil Rights Act of 1964 by ensuring non-discrimination in all programs and activities. In 1987, Civil Rights Restoration Act of 1987 prohibits discrimination based on race, color, and national origin. And in 2015, Americans with Disability Acts of 1990 prohibits discrimination based on a disability. The Child and Adult Care Food Program civil rights components include assurances, data collection, compliance reviews, outreach and education, civil rights complaints, and customer service. Assurances are contractual agreements in which a state agency, local agency, or the subrecipient legally agrees to administer food and nutrition services, programs in accordance with all laws, regulations, instructions, policies, and guidance related to non-discrimination. Compliance with these requirements is verified through compiling data, maintaining records, and submitting required reports. Sites need to establish a system to collect racial and ethnic data. Self-identification is the preferred method for collecting racial and ethnic data. Alternatively, if an applicant participant does not self-identify, then staff can make an observation of race and ethnicity. When collecting racial and ethnic data, collect ethnicity data first, then race data. Why do I have to collect racial and ethnic data? The data is used to determine how effectively your program is reaching potentially eligible children and where outreach may be needed. How long do I have to keep the data? 3 years plus the current year. Data should be kept secure and confidential. The purpose of compliance reviews is to determine if the applicant or recipient of federal financial assistance is in compliance with civil rights requirements. Types of compliance reviews include pre-operational visits, which takes place before approval of operation. CACFP review takes place after a sponsor site has been approved and is operating. And the special review. This takes place after a site has been approved due to complaint, data collection, or as a follow-up to previous non-compliance. Outreach and education is vital to the Child and Adult Care Food Program. Notification is important in order to inform the community, reach potential eligible participants, ensure and assure programs access, pay attention to underrepresented groups, ensure information is available in other languages as needed. Remember to include the non-discrimination statement on all materials that mention USDA programs, including your website. However, you do not need to include the statement on menus. Take a second and look at the non-discrimination statement. It's located on the And Justice for All poster. Your center must develop a reporting method and train your staff on the importance of processing civil rights complaints in a timely manner. Site staff should put in writing all verbal complaints and details surrounding the event as quickly as possible. Complaints must be filed within 180 days of incident to the USDA. Once complaint is at USDA, a letter is issued within 5 days. All participants must be treated in the same manner. Seating arrangements, serving lines, services and facilities, assignment of eating periods, methods of selection for application approval processes. It's important that you remember the platinum rule. Treat others the way they want to be treated. For more information about child care resources, please visit our website at ccresourcesinc.org.